Ryan Blaney did not hold back. When the dust settled at Gateway, the cameras zoomed in and the engines cooled. The number 12 Ford driver was not only upset, but stunned. Not because he lost the race, not because he spun, but Kyle Larson, of all people, took him out. A fellow champion, a so-called friend, and Blaney made certain that the world understood how terribly that cut. "I just wanted to know what I did to deserve it," Blaney said, shaking his head long after the checkered flag had flown. Simple words, honest words, but they held emotional weight, because what happened on that track did not simply deduct stage points. It shattered the fragile trust between two of NASCAR's top drivers. See, this wasn't just a beginner mistake at the rear of the pack. This was a full-fledged ambush in the midst of battle, with two champions fighting for position as Stage 2 came to an end. Larson went in from well down low, much deeper than he should have in Turn 3. His number 5 Chevy skidded up the track as if on ice. Blaney, keeping his line like a pro, had no idea what was coming. Larson clipped Blaney's left rear, and Blaney spun out of control. He did not crash, he didn't freak out, but he could have. And when you're competing for a championship, such spins sabotage rather than sting. Yes, Blaney recovered. He clawed his way back to 4th position, which on paper appears to be a win. But anybody watching realized the truth. Gateway might have been his race. That spin didn't only cost him points, it cost him his chance at control, momentum, respect. And this is where the true narrative begins. Blaney marched straight to Larson following the race, beneath the bright pit road lights. Not to fight, not to yell, but to raise the question that has been ringing through NASCAR since Sunday. What did I do to deserve it? Let me explain why that's so strong. These aren't simply competitors. These are two men who grew up in the same garages and raced each other from dirt tracks to the grandest stages in motorsports. There is history here, there is a bond, or at least there was. Larson attempted to keep it calm. He made all the proper statements to the media. "I just told him I messed up," Larson said. "I didn't mean to walk in there and hit him. I just underestimated the moment at which I wasn't going to sit next to him and tuck in. I just clipped him." But simply clipping him won't cut it in the playoffs. Blaney didn't buy it completely. Not too late in the game. "Yes, that is all right. Make mistakes," he stated. "But at the end of the day, I still got turned." And he's correct, because it makes no difference whether it was intentional or unintentional. It happened. Larson came in fast, skidded up the track, and made contact. Intentions do not influence outcomes. Blaney understands this all too well. This is not the first time he has been sent spinning. Blaney has had a particularly difficult year in 2025. 7 DNFs, 7. That is more than practically everyone in the playoffs. And he's still on the quest. Still, he is battling. Nonetheless, he shows up each week with a chance to win. What about now? Now he has something else. Something is seething just below the surface. Blaney stated unequivocally, "That's one I've got to remember." His speech carried a threatening tone. That wasn't just a line for the camera, that was a message for Larson and the rest of the garage. He isn't forgetting. And he is not forgiving. Because in the next round, or the one after that, Larson may find himself in need of a break. A small chamber, a little patience. What if Blaney is nearby? That favor might not arrive. Not anymore. What makes this even more devastating is that the wreck was unnecessary. Larson had just attempted a similar move the lap prior. He reached Blaney's door, made it stick, and they raced down the front stretch cleanly. But then he tried again. Too deep, too fast, and this time he couldn't keep it. He gambled, and Blaney paid the consequences. So the question becomes why? Why take the risk? Why now? And most importantly, what happens next? Something is brewing in the garage, and you can feel it. The type of tension that does not appear in lap times or tire wear. It's in the glances, the interviews, and the unspoken norms of drivers who know just how much space to give and when to stop. Ryan Blaney isn't simply carrying a grudge, he carries a reminder, a warning. Kyle Larson may have just lighted the fuse for something more than a hit and spin, because messing with a playoff driver at the wrong time risks not only a collision, but also a war. Think about it. Larson did not spoil Blaney's day, but he did harm something deeper. This was not an end-of-the-pack brawl. This was a move that reshuffled stage points, altered momentum, and changed how Blaney would race Larson in the following rounds. Larson understands this. He attempted to smooth it over with the standard lines. "All on me," he said. "It wasn't intended at all." I hope he understands that. Understanding, however, does not remove a target. And make no mistake, Blaney has the number 5 Chevrolet marked on his radar. This is what happens when champions lose trust in each other. Suddenly, each pass becomes personal. Every dive bomb is accompanied by a question. Is this the moment he pays me back? That is where Larson currently resides, inside Blaney's recollection, beneath his flesh. And that is a bad position to be in the playoffs. Remember, Blaney did not get in Larson's face. He did not shove, yell, or raise a commotion. He played it cool, calm, too calm, because sometimes silence speaks louder than rage. Sometimes the silent ones are the ones to fear the most. "I was happy we bounced back," Blaney said after the race. "Did a good job of timing out where we needed to be and having a good enough car to get back to 4th. That is the terrifying part. Even after being spun and losing position, he managed to claw his way back into the top 5. Imagine what he could have accomplished if he hadn't been sent spinning. That was not just a 4th place result, it was a warning shot, a message to Larson and all other drivers. You may knock me down, but I'll get back up, stronger. Now let's not pretend that this was the only turmoil Larson caused at Gateway. No, because earlier in the race, Bubba Wallace had words for the number 5 after a chaotic restart almost turned into a calamity. Wallace's automobile became stuck in 1st gear, and Larson nearly paid the price. Nonetheless, Larson emerged unscathed, physically at least. But what about all of these moments? They sum up. You can be the nice guy for the entire season, the clean racer. But once you start making maneuvers that cost other drivers points, positions, and playoff power, the garage becomes quite silent when you walk in. Or, worse, very loud. Blaney isn't out for vengeance, not yet, but he'll remember. And as NASCAR has repeatedly demonstrated, memory fuels mayhem. Look ahead to Bristol, tight corners, temperatures are always high. That's not a racetrack, it's a pressure cooker. If Larson encounters Blaney again, he may not be able to breathe easily. Because what happened at Gateway was not a simple oops situation. It was a message scrawled in rubber and steel. You turn me, and I won't forget. Larson is lucky this time. He has a large lead in the points. He will almost probably make it through the round of 16. But playoffs are about more than just points. They're discussing psychology. And now, Blaney has the mental edge, the quiet chip on his shoulder. And Larson? He only hopes it won't come back to bother him. Because when Ryan Blaney says, "That's one I've got to remember," he's not lying. He means it. And NASCAR fans understand what this implies. So, should Blaney give Larson the benefit of the doubt? Should he let it go? Or race him harder the next time? Perhaps crowd him up the track? Perhaps not lift if Larson sinks too deep? Or better still, should Blaney wait until the appropriate moment, the ideal playoff stage, to show Larson what it's like to be the one spinning? You tell me. Forgiveness may be a part of racing, but what about the payback? That is part of the game.